Bungie has just won an incredible lawsuit, one that has huge implications for the entirety of the gaming industry. And this one is pretty crazy. Almost $500,000 this person will have to pay in restitution. And the reason why is because they were harassing a Bungie dev. Obviously, harassment seems like maybe not as serious a crime, but when you see what they've done and how intense these things can get in the past, this is really serious business. Harassment is no joke. Bungie put the entirety of their legal team on top of this. We're gonna jump into this topic and discuss exactly what happened and what this means. We've got Bungie is headquartered in Bellevue, Washington. Comer appears to be a resident of West Virginia, where he had 2 protective orders entered against him by a West Virginia court as a result of acts described herein. This, obviously, the internet connects everyone, so you never know where someone could be harassing you from. And a lot of times people make these calls or try to do things with a sense of anonymity, like they use fake profile, a burner account, burner phone. They'll have like spoofing devices and hardware, so that way people won't be able to track them. But a lot of the times, if you actually commit a serious enough offense, you can be tracked. So don't feel like you're safe behind your anonymity. It definitely did not work for this. Bungie has developed a video game, Destiny 2, that is a much loved online shooter game played by tens of millions of users worldwide. Destiny 2 is a free-to-play game. Bungie earns income from Destiny 2 by selling additional new content to fans and new players, such as expansions and characters, cosmetics, and gear. Continuation of fan enthusiasm for the franchise is key to the success of the game and its related media, so the satisfaction of the Destiny 2 community is key to the game's longevity and Bungie's financial success. Now, that may seem like a very strange tangent, but what they're trying to do is they're building up a reason why Bungie is jumping into this lawsuit. And this is new precedented, like new legal grounds have been pushed because of this. What it is that the individual that was being harassed, usually they themselves would have to file a lawsuit against the harasser, right? It's a he said, she said, 1 versus 1 type of thing, right? In this instance, because they were harassed due to their employment, their employer is allowed to fight on their behalf and allowed to get, legal lawyers and get involved in the legal process and get damages and restitution on behalf of the person that's being harassed. It's pretty crazy. For that reason, Bungie employs community managers as to act as liaisons between fans who often have complaints and suggestions, and the company itself functioning as an essential bridge between players and Bungie. Until the events described herein, Homer was an enthusiastic Destiny 2 player. As a part of his job duties as community manager, D. Doe, so they're just basically calling them John Doe to not name them. Obviously, a lot of us who play, we know who we're talking about. To be respectful to the situation, I'm just going to call them John Doe or Doe, so that way we can move on to throughout the court documents, because we're not trying to name anyone or anything. Promoted the artwork of Amaze, a talented black fan and creator of Destiny 2 fan works as part of Bungie's My Destiny 2 Story series that highlighted community members' contributions. Now, obviously, this is all public documents too, so anything I'm reading here is free for the public to read. Choice to highlight work by a fan of color, Incensed Comer, and honor about June 2nd, 2022, Comer started his campaign of racist, stochastic terrorism against the Does and Bungie. There it is. That was what provoked this troll, this harasser, to turn into an absolute nut job, was that they are motivated largely by racism. On that day, Comer, a resident of West Virginia, added a new phone number to his existing TextNow VoIP service. Very interesting. So he has a VoIP service which allows anonymous calling. So he's tried to create a new number to allow anonymous calling, right? So that way he could then call various different people and harass them. And this is where you sort of feel this false sense of safety with your anonymity on the internet. Comer then immediately proceeded to call Doe's personal phone and left a hideous, bigoted voicemail as described in the complaint. Comer did not stop there. He continued to call the Does, leaving more and more voicemails. Now he's using his anonymous number. He's just calling them over and over and over again, leaving all sorts of crazy voice messages, thinking that there's no way they could even catch him because of the anonymous number. Comer repeatedly asked that the Does convince Bungie to create options in its game in which only persons of color would be killed. Pretty horrible stuff to be leaving as voicemails. The thing I wonder is how the hell do they even get their phone number and stuff? That's pretty crazy. I don't know how they end up getting that in the first place, but by the way, we probably would never know because they're not going to say, but definitely crazy to get your phone number leaked out like that and then have just randomly get calls and voicemails like this. Approximately 45 minutes after this first salvo began, Homer Homer attempted next to threaten and frighten Vito's wife, Kado, by leaving further racist voicemails and text for her. Homer identified himself on these voicemails as Clay Bramson. Homer spent hours that day carpet bombing the does with racist text and voice messages. It's interesting what carpet bombing. I didn't expect that to be I guess maybe that's like the proper legal term. I don't know. I guess I was expecting like spamming, carpet bombing the does with racist. Not satisfied, he decided to show the does that he knew where they live and could assault them there. So now he's escalated things. He gets their phone number, calls them, harasses them, leaves voicemails, racist voicemails, saying a bunch of terrible stuff about killing people. Obviously a pretty serious offense in and of itself. Now he knows where their address is. He's saying that he knows where their address is and that he could assault them. This is escalated. That's really scary at that point in time. That's actually really scary. Homer used an anonymous number to place a cash on delivery order with Domino's Pizza for a virtually inedible odoriferous pizza. All right, I know this is some serious matters here, but what did they order from Domino's that made it inedible? I'm confused. Like, they put a bunch of like 10 times anchovies or something? Like, I know it's a very serious matter. I should not be laughing at all, but that is an interesting tidbit there. Is it not? Like, is that not like strange? Pineapple on it, you know? Completely inedible. I don't know what was on this pizza. Apparently it was really nasty. I used to deliver pizzas, so as a former pizza delivery employee, I can vouch for various different inedible pizza toppings, okay? Homer instructed the delivery driver to knock at least 5 times on the dough's door because he would purportedly be wearing headphones and so would need loud, incessant banging to learn of the pizza's arrival. Now that's actually messed up directions. As a pizza delivery driver that has gotten that before, I've always been worried reading stuff like that because, like, obviously if you like knock 5 times, that's like the way the police knock, I believe. That's the cadence that the police knock. So they're trying to get the person to knock loudly on their door 5 times. And I have literally been that guy delivering the pizzas, knocking, and I've had people say, "You got to knock loud, I'm in the back," you know? So I usually start off with a light knock and then amp it up. I have actually pounded on people's door before. Could you imagine? And he sent the order cash on delivery to increase the chances of conflict between the doughs and the delivery driver. Now that's a common thing that happens. It's a common thing that happens that trolls do, where they send pizzas to streamers' houses, whatever it may be, and they do it cash on delivery. So when people arrive, like, I didn't order this pizza, I'm not paying for this, and then it creates some conflict. And oftentimes what happens is streamer or content creator, or in this individual, a Bungie employee's case, they have to just get blacklisted from the pizza delivery place. You have to blacklist their address because they'll just keep doing it and stuff. It's actually a fairly common thing, unfortunately, from trolls. It's obviously not as serious of offense as, you know, threats. Like, clearly threats is much worse, but this is pretty common with the pizza stuff. And so Homer again used the alias Clay Bramston, the same name used on his voice and text messages. The order was dispatched to the dough's home as a form of threat. And that is actually a form of threat. I know some of you will be out there saying, "Oh, come on. A pizza is a form of threat." It's the implication of what they're trying to say. They're trying to say, "I know your address." They're saying, "I sent a pizza to your address. I know you exactly where you live. That person that knocked on your front door, that could be me next." That is what the threat is. And it's actually very serious, and one that should not be taken lightly. We have seen some scary things happen to content creators. The implications are very serious, even though it seems like a silly thing to just have a pizza sent to your house, right? Homer used Domino's online order tracking system to confirm that the doughs had received his pizza-shaped threat. All right, I feel like that was they're trying to make me laugh a little bit with the pizza-shaped threat. All right, come on. The pizza-shaped threat. And it should not be laughing. This is very serious stuff, and it is serious stuff, but the pizza-shaped threat really killed me. But this, again, the implications are extremely scary here because what's happened now, they didn't have this back when I delivered pizzas. Back when I delivered pizzas, you just ran the pizzas out. Now they have you tracked on the mobile app. I'm glad I don't deliver pizzas anymore, because what I would do is I would be out there delivering pizzas and I'd be listening to podcasts, just chilling, listening to music, and then you'd go and you'd drop off the pizza and then you'd come back to your car and you'd just be, you know, be in your car, text messaging a little bit, you know, just chilling, you know, browsing through MySpace or whatever, right? Not MySpace, I'm not that. And so now they have you tracked because your phone is linked to that. So now your boss is going to know, "Hey, what are you sitting in your car for so long for? Huh? You doing sitting in your car for?" I would have gotten fired in the modern day pizza delivery game. But this is actually scary to think about because now you can order a pizza, have it delivered to someone else's house, and it gives you delivery confirmation. So you know that they accepted the pizza and you know that they lived there, I guess, to some degree. I mean, it could have been the wrong address and someone else could have accepted pizza technically. Not 100% confirmation. It gets worse though. It keeps going on apparently. Homer then left Kado another voicemail telling her to enjoy the pizza. The does legitimately feared then for their safety, as someone clearly was targeting them and knew where they lived. Comer then crowed about his terrorism to the Terror Gang group on Steam. The Terror Gang group maintains a set of sound files and noises labeled as ear rape and permits its users to utilize these files as a part of their terror campaign. And so 2 hours after menacingly telling Kato to enjoy the pizza, Comer followed up with a voicemail containing ear rape sounds played at a high volume. As discussed in the complaint at paragraphs 94 and Mr. Nixon's accompanying declaration, Comer's activity was no mere prank. Online harassment follows a predictable pattern in which a harasser will escalate from doxing, obtaining the target's personal information in order to abuse them in real life, to contact through physical violence against the target. Comer's conduct had all the hallmarks of an attacker of high concern. First doxed Dido, then sent racist and abusive messages to him, escalated to attacking Dido's wife, and continued escalating to real-world physical contact by means of the pizza delivery. Attackers who involve family members and violate physical boundaries are more likely to engage in real-world violence. From behind a keyboard, the attacker can abuse the business and services local to the target or leverage other online actors who happen to be nearby in order to appear to be right next door. Under the circumstances, Bungie and the Does had to assume the guard against escalation into direct violence by this anonymous terrorist. So there is a really good and important thing to talk about with some of this, which is that some will try to say, well, they never actually showed up to their house or something like that. But it's like, does it really need to get to that level? Like, does it really need to get to that level? Like, that's not, they have obviously committed a pretty serious offense already with the stuff that they're doing. And it's unfortunate, that's kind of where the law is, and to some degree right now, where you try to deal with some of these harassers and stuff. They need something to go by, because online messages isn't quite enough. And this is actually really good precedent. This is pushing the issue forward leaps and bounds, actually, because a lot of people deal with this and nothing ever happens to the person that's doing it. Nothing ever happens to the terrorists, cyber terrorism, right? Nothing actually happens to them. They use an anonymous number. People don't find them. The local police either don't care enough and they don't take the stuff seriously enough until things get out of hand. There was a recent issue that happened with a content creator that she had like a crazy stalker show up to their house and lit her car on fire. I don't know if you saw that. That was wild. The next point reads, Bungie was forced to take expensive measures to protect the Does from the threat posed by Comer, who at that point remained unknown and anonymous. Bungie sent out executive protection within an hour of the pizza attack and notified the local police department. Bungie then engaged investigators and outside counsel to identify and locate who was threatening its employees. Bungie had to engage in counsel in Canada and obtain a Canadian court order to ascertain Comer's identity. Once Bungie identified who was threatening its employees, had to retain additional investigators and counsel in West Virginia, where Comer lived, and obtain a restraining order. All these measures had to be taken in a matter of days, adding to the cost. Bungie also retained round-the-clock security for the Does. That's actually pretty wild. They had to contact authorities in Canada, and I feel like the contacting authorities in Canada part is probably whatever anonymous VoIP they were trying to use. They're using some device, third-party device that keeps them anonymous. You're probably anonymous until you commit a crime. Once you commit a crime using their anonymous spoofing software or whatever, then they can reveal your exact location. And they did. So I was like, it's strange that Canada authorities got involved in it. What did Canadian authorities have to do with this when I first read that? But it obviously had to be the program they were using to hide their IP address or hide their location. So they got a restraining order. They had security spent. This is where this starts to add up fast for sure. Dido was so frightened that he needed to take time off and curtail his public interactions with Destiny 2 fans, which interactions were his core of his job, and at which, to be clear, he was an absolute superstar. Word also spread to the other Bungie employees, impacting Bungie's other community managers. Bungie not only lost a dedicated veteran community manager, it was forced to shield other existing employees and potential new employees from similar harassment campaigns. All told, as shown by the declarations Bungie submitted in support of its motion, Comer's harassment campaign cost Bungie $380,000 in actual damages to provide protection to its employees, to investigate who was harassing its employees, and to put a stop to such harassment. $380,000 added up fast. And obviously, it makes sense considering all the stuff that was going on. Comer has never denied his intent to terrify the Does, and by extension Bungie, because they did the job asked them to do by promoting the contributions of a black creator to Destiny 2. Indeed, immediately after the lawsuit was filed, he stipulated an interim injunction that all but admitted his intent and his involvement. Conclusions of law. Comer interfered with Bungie's contractual relations. Intentional interference requires a valid contractual relationship of business expectancy, defendant's knowledge of the relationship expectancy, the defendant intentionally interfered with relationship expectancy, got it. Bungie has satisfied all of those elements. The Does were Bungie's employees. Comer knew they were employees. Comer intentionally targeted them because they were Bungie employees promoting Bungie's message. Bungie suffered damages in the form of investigation and protection costs. As a result, Bungie was deprived of Dido services for an extended period of time, was forced to balance work among its community members while watching for new vectors of abusive behavior and was obliged to provide adequate security and support, all of which amount to compensable damages within the meaning of the tort. Bungie should recover an appropriate amount for the loss caused by Comer in this regard, as well as receive injunctive relief barring Comer from harassing other Bungie employees and or Destiny 2 users, or finds that Bungie has proven the losses in the amount of $380,000. That's not what you expect when you're thinking you're going to be a troll, right? When you think you're going to troll some Bungie dev, you're not expecting a court document to be delivered to your house saying that you're being sued for, I think it's more than this now, but it was $380,000 in damage. Comer's behavior constituted nuisance, by nuisance. They're just going through the legal jargon here a little bit, explaining all the different violations, the correct terms of it, all the different violations. Yep, we got here. Moreover, Comer's attacks on the does interfered with their ability to perform work for Bungie, and if Mr. Comer escalated his weapons from pizzas to pistols, the does might have been able to hold Bungie liable for any resulting injuries. Certainly, Washington's public interest is in allowing employers to act proactively to protect their employees from perceived threats. As such, Bungie is entitled to compensatory damages in the amount of expenditures to investigate and uncover Comer's identity and to protect the does in the meantime, which damages are again identical to damages recovered from the torturous interference and nuisance. But Bungie is also entitled to statutory damages equal to treble the compensatory damages up to statutory minimum of $25,000. Bungie is also entitled to its reasonable attorney's fees in the amount of $83,000. That's where that gets tacked on. That we're talking about $500,000. Bungie has proven invasion of privacy and intrusion on seclusion. Invasion of privacy by intrusion on seclusion consists of deliberate intrusion, physical or otherwise, into a person's solitude, seclusion, or private affairs. The intrusion must have acted deliberately to achieve the result. Certain belief that the result would happen. Comer deliberately targeted Bungie employees by finding their personal phone numbers, home address, and deliberately intentionally intruding on the seclusion in the most intolerable manner. Had more than certain belief that the result of intrusion would happen. He ensured it would be monitoring the pizza delivery and following it up another phone call. Washington expressed public policies against cyber talking, telephone harassment. They're citing of various different instances where this has happened with cyber harassment and such. Very interesting to see all the different citations of this stuff. You know, when they talk about issues that happen like this, they have to cite things. This issue itself will probably be cited. Bungie v. Comer will be cited as a huge one and a milestone, like a progress towards online harassment and cyberbullying, because this is definitely kind of unprecedented ground that we've seen before. To that end, and to the extent that any of the above causes of actions were inadequate to allow such recovery, the court nonetheless awards Bungie the same damages of its investigative and protective costs expended in responding to the cyber and telephone harassment of its employees by Comer, $380,000. I don't know that the defendant actually responded to this. I think they gave them the default judgment, but I have to see that. Doing this to prevent this ever happening again. It is hereby ordered, judged, and decreed. Defendant Comer shall not contact or cause others to contact on his behalf any Bungie employee for any purpose. Defendant Comer shall contact Bungie only through Bungie's counsel, so through their legal team. Defendant Comer will not directly or indirectly seek or harass or intimidate any Destiny 2 community member, including but not limited to any player, streamer, artist, or other content creator. Wow, there you go. That's a cool extension of that. So now this individual, they're not allowed to harass Bungie employees, but they can't harass anyone online. Like you can't see them on Twitter. Like if this person's on Twitter harassing people, this person's on whatever social media platform, they can't harass players in game. Obviously, I'm assuming they're like banned in game, so I don't imagine they're able to play it, but any artist or content creator at all. So they're just barred from any communication with anyone that plays Destiny. They're just, in terms of harassment, they cannot harass anyone in the Destiny community. That's the freaking judge. That's worse. That's way more intense than the ban hammer. That's the judge's gavel. Judge's gavel hammer. Titan hammer, but with a gavel. This order is binding on the parties, their officers, agents, servants, employees, and attorneys, and upon those persons in active concert or participation with them who receive actual notice of this order by personal service or otherwise. It is further ordered, adjudged, and decreed as follows. Judgment is hereby entered in favor of plaintiff, creditor Bungie, against defendant Jesse Comer, and judgment principal balance $380,000, $25,000 in statutory damages, $83,000 in attorney fees, $200 in statutory attorney fees pursuant, post-judgment interest on the entire judgment at the rate of 12% per annum accruing for the date of entry, judgment fully paid. They just threw the entire book at him. They said, you're paying for all the damages, you're paying for the security, everything that Bungie had to do. I imagine they had to like move them. You're paying for all the time that you wasted from the Bungie employees that couldn't work during your harassment campaign. and you're paying the attorney's fees, and you're buying the attorney's lunch, and they're eating steak. They just threw the whole entire book at it. That's just a full default judgment there. Holy. But a mandatory psych evaluation would actually be a very fair assessment for sure. Justice would require to pay all fees and costs. Well, the thing is, we don't know how much money they have. Like, we can't, could just be someone, you know, who knows what they do. If you don't have the money to pay for it, I don't know if you go to jail or I don't know what that, I don't think they're in legal. I don't know how that works. Maybe someone who's a much smarter person in the legal system, maybe someone who's an attorney or prosecutor or something. Like bankruptcy, I don't know. Well, there you have it. It does not pay to troll and cyberbully people online. This individual found out the hard way. $489,435.52. They didn't round it up. They went down to the exact penny, that 52 cents, everything. That is a lot of money. This sets a really good precedent. I'm excited to talk about this, and that I hope that this sends a powerful message to people out there that cyberbullying is not a good idea. It is not a good idea. And hopefully to the Bungie employees that were harassed, hopefully they were able to move on and have some peace in their life now because they've experienced some pretty crazy stuff. So hopefully things have gotten better for them. That's a wrap on this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed. Smash the like button. See you in the next one.